Dr. Amara Diallo, a 47-year-old United States Circuit Court judge and one of the most respected black jurists in the country, stepped onto Platform 8 of New York's Moynihan train hall just after dawn. She carried no entourage, only a slim leather valise, a linen-bound journal, and an aura of calm that turned heads even in the morning rush. Her destination was Chicago on the overnight Continental Zephyr, a newly refurbished luxury sleeper train advertised as the Sky Experience on steel. She had chosen rail over air for once to clear her mind before presiding over a volatile civil rights case the following week. Amara had grown up on stories of Pullman porters and segregated cars. Riding in the Zephyr's modern first-class suite felt like reclaiming a fragment of history that had never belonged to her grandparents. First-class passengers boarded early, and Amara found her compartment, Suite 1A, already prepared with crisp white linens, a polished brass reading lamp, and a panoramic window whose reflection gave her a fleeting glimpse of herself. Short natural curls, bronze skin, a face equal parts fatigue and quiet authority. She placed her valise beneath the ottoman, took out a copy of James Baldwin's The Fire Next Time, and sat cross-legged on the plush seat. Outside in the corridor, Senior Steward Logan Whitaker strode briskly past the suites, ticking off items on a digital manifest. Tall, broad-shouldered, and white, Logan prided himself on order, punctuality, and the unspoken hierarchy that he believed made luxury service impeccable. When his eyes fell on Amara through the open compartment door, his stride faltered. According to his internal narrative, a narrative he had never challenged. First-class suites on the Zephyr were reserved for CEOs, senators, or at least wealthy vacationers who dressed a certain way. In that instant, he decided the woman reading Baldwin must be misplaced. He rapped his knuckles on the doorframe. "Pardon me, ma'am, may I see your ticket?" Amara looked up. Logan's tone was clipped, more police encounter than courtesy inquiry, but she handed him her e-boarding pass without comment. The QR code and bold lettering clearly read Suite 1A First Class. Logan scanned it, frowned, and forced a smile that did not touch his eyes. "I'm afraid there's been an error," he said. "This pass indicates Suite 1A, but the manifest shows it assigned to another passenger." He gestured vaguely toward the rear. "If you'll follow me, we can settle you into economy." Amara closed her book with deliberate calm, held his gaze, and measured her next words. She had encountered this choreography of doubt before. In hotel lobbies, at conference check-in desks, even in court antechambers when wearing street clothes. Experience had taught her that outward composure was the sharpest blade. "Steward Whitaker, is it?" she asked, reading his name tag. "You scanned the boarding pass. Does it not show my name?" Logan's jaw tightened. Names can be mismatched in the system. Best that we move before the doors close. Passengers' heads were popping into corridors. Whispers rippled down the gleaming passageway. Amara noticed the discomfort on a young Latina porter standing behind Logan, a tray of champagne flutes trembling in her hands. This was not the stage for anger, Amara reminded herself. Anger fed the stereotype. Very softly she said, "If you believe there is an error, I'm happy to wait here while you confirm with dispatch." But Logan had built himself a corner. His authority, perhaps his very self-image, was on the line. "Ma'am, please gather your things," he repeated, voice louder. Amara did not argue. She slipped a bookmark between pages, rose, and retrieved her valise. As she stepped into the corridor, every door along that car seemed to hold a witness. She walked the length of car A in silence, Baldwin and suitcase in hand, her posture erect as though leading a procession rather than being expelled from one. Passengers in economy craned their necks when she entered, searching for context to the rumor already buzzing on group chats. Seat 42B, a narrow recliner opposite the restroom, awaited her. She stowed her valise and sat. Only then did she pull out her phone and compose a single text to her longtime clerk, Zoe Lang. Removed from Suite 1A on Zephyr Train 712. Boarding pass denied by Mr. Steward Logan Whitaker. No explanation given. "I will wait." She pressed send and turned the screen face down on her lap. 200 miles away in Washington, Zoe's phone vibrated on her desk in the Federal Judicial Center. Within 1 minute, she had forwarded Amara's message to the Office of Rail Passenger Oversight, the Deputy Secretary, and, crucially, to the CEO's personal counsel at Continental Rail Lines. Federal judges were not above the law, but they were integral to the law's machinery. Ignoring misconduct toward one could jeopardize an entire company's regulatory standing. While steel wheels thrummed beneath the coach car, An urgent conference call lit up in a glass-walled boardroom on the 42nd floor of Continental Rail's Midtown headquarters. CEO Naomi Clark came out of a quarterly earnings briefing to join the call. The facts, as they knew them: a black female circuit judge had been removed from a first-class suite by a white senior steward without documented cause. The optics, let alone the ethics, were catastrophic. Naomi ordered 2 actions: immediate investigation and rectifying the situation before it detonated on social media. 75 minutes into the journey, Amara felt a tremor of turbulence, not from the tracks, but in the atmosphere of the coach car. Logan Whitaker appeared again, flanked this time by the train's captain, Dmitry Novak, whose peaked cap and polished brass epaulets signaled ultimate onboard authority. Logan's earlier confidence had drained to a pallid unease. "Judge Diallo," Captain Novak began, voice low enough to preserve her privacy, yet audible to a dozen curious passengers. "It seems we owe you a serious apology. I was unaware of the earlier misunderstanding. May we escort you back to your suite?" Logan opened his mouth to add something, but the captain's glare pinned him silent. Amara rose, careful not to show the fatigue in her limbs, and addressed Novak. "Captain, thank you. Before I move, I'd like to understand what changed between then and now." Novak's cheeks flushed. "Headquarters reached me by satellite line. Your boarding pass was correct. The fault lies with our staff." His emphasis on the last word widened Logan's eyes. In the hush that followed, passengers raised phones to capture the tableau, some live streaming. Amara met Logan's gaze, saw humiliation wrestling with something deeper, fear, perhaps, or the dawning of self-recognition. "I will return to my suite," she said to the captain, "but I would appreciate a written statement of events for my records. Let's do this properly." "Of course, Judge." Novak turned on his heel. Logan gestured toward the aisle like a man who had forgotten how doors work, and Amara strode past him. Back in Suite 1A, the bed had been remade, fresh orchids placed by the window. A dessert plate appeared, compliments of the chef, though it was barely 10 a.m. Amara thanked the junior attendant who delivered it, then closed the door behind her. She leaned against the panel and exhaled slowly, letting the visceral ache roll off her shoulders. For a moment she allowed herself to feel the slight, the weight of being forced to prove, yet again, she belonged. She resumed reading Baldwin, but now her concentration flickered. Through the door, she sensed commotion, hurried footsteps, hissed conversations. Half an hour later came a knock. It was Novak again, alone. He handed her a typed statement signed by both him and Logan, acknowledging wrongful removal and assuring full cooperation with any investigation. Amara placed the document in her journal. The train surged through Pennsylvania farmland. In the staff galley, Logan was on a private video call with HR. The line crackled with legalese: probable violation, implicit bias training, suspension pending review. Sweat beaded at his temples. He glanced around and saw the young Latina porter, Celeste Rivera, who had witnessed the incident. Emboldened, she told HR what she saw: Logan's tone, the lack of procedural check, and Amara's composed compliance. HR requested her written statement. Celeste's hands trembled, but she agreed. 2 cars back, a 23-year-old white postgraduate named Aiden Clark, no relation to the CEO, was uploading a 40-second vertical video to TikTok. It captured Logan demanding Amara move, her silent walk past first-class doors, and a caption: 2025, and this still happens on luxury trains. Within 30 minutes the clip climbed to 200,000 views. Comments exploded, some outraged, some incredulous, a few hateful, and the algorithm catapulted #Suite1A onto trending lists. By lunchtime, Naomi Clark's second directive shifted: crisis management with public relations blitz. She authorized a statement acknowledging the event, committing to full investigation, and hinting at swift personnel action. But events outpaced corporate spin. A retired journalist recognized Amara in the viral clip and tweeted her bio: first black woman to clerk for the Fourth Circuit, keynote speaker on implicit bias in the judiciary, recent recipient of the Thurgood Marshall Award. Now the story wasn't about an anonymous black passenger. It was about an eminent judge. On the train, Amara remained offline, no Wi-Fi by choice, but glimpsed uneasy stares when she stepped out to stretch in the observation lounge. A white couple in designer athleisure offered her their table before she even asked, overcompensating in discomfort. A black teenage girl approached shyly, saying, "I saw what happened. You handled it like royalty." Amara thanked her and felt unexpected warmth. Logan, meanwhile, sat in the staff break room, scrolling the avalanche of condemnation. Each new clip, each retweet, each comment branding him racist steward sapped his defiance. He recalled growing up in rural Indiana, hearing his father's mutterings about those people who took undeserved seats. He had never considered that prejudice might ride quietly inside him, performing audits only it understood. He had simply believed he was preserving standards. The mirror now thrust before him was brutal. Mid-afternoon, the Zephyr screeched to an unscheduled halt near Cleveland. Overhead speakers crackled. Due to a technical issue with the brake system, we will be stationary for 45 minutes. Passengers groaned. In the crew compartment, Novak received confidential orders. A special investigative team from Continental Rail's internal affairs would board during the stop. They arrived, a trio in navy blazers and discreet ID badges, while repair techs fussed under the chassis. Their target, Logan Whitaker. Logan was summoned to a windowless interview compartment. The lead investigator, Paula Zhou, placed a voice recorder on the table. "We're opening a formal inquiry into discriminatory conduct," she said. Logan's shoulders slumped. He struggled to articulate his earlier reasoning, finding only flimsy phrases: manifest discrepancy, passenger profile, standard procedure. Zhou's eyebrows rose at profile. She asked, "What profile exactly?" Silence choked the room. By the time the Zephyr rolled again, Logan had been relieved of duty and confined to an empty service cabin at the rear, with an investigator posted outside. News outlets pushed notifications. Luxury train line detained over bias incident. Stock price for Continental Rail dipped 3 points before market close. Night draped the Midwest plains in indigo. Amara ate dinner alone in the dining car, sipping chamomile tea while cornfields blurred past glass walls. Celeste approached softly, eyes damp. "Judge Diallo, I just wanted to say I'm so sorry," she blurted. "I should have spoken up sooner." Amara closed her journal and looked up, seeing not just remorse but fear. Fear of complicity, of silence as assent. "You spoke when it mattered," Amara told her. "Courage isn't measured by how quickly you act, but by whether you act at all." Celeste's relief came in a trembling breath. She returned to service lighter, shoulders unclenched. Back in Suite 1A, Amara powered on her tablet for the first time that day and gasped at the flood. Hundreds of mentions, interview requests, op-eds invoking her name. She scrolled through think pieces on systemic bias in rail travel, some thoughtful, others opportunistic. One headline chilled her: "From Jim Crow cars to Zephyr suites. How far have we really come?" She recognized the risk of becoming a symbol rather than a person. Her story flattened into clickbait. She drafted a short statement on the Notes app. "Let this incident prompt reflection, not just outrage. Bias is less a single act than a system of unchecked assumptions." She hesitated, thumb hovering over send. Then she deleted the draft. Not yet. At 2 a.m., while most passengers slept, the train lurched again, this time for an emergency medical stop in Gary, Indiana. A passenger in economy had suffered a seizure. The PA system requested medical professionals. Amara, who in college volunteered as an EMT, left her suite. She found the victim, a white man in his 60s, convulsing near the luggage rack. A young black med student passenger knelt beside him, and together they stabilized his airway until paramedics boarded. In the chaos, phones recorded Judge Diallo providing compressions, sweat shining on her forehead. The video of her administering aid would later go viral too. She saves lives the same day she's discriminated against. Dawn tinted Chicago's sky rose gold when the Zephyr pulled into Union Station. Camera crews clustered on the platform behind barricades. Captain Novak announced that all passengers must remain seated until authorities completed a routine debrief. Interior lights brightened, murmurs filled corridors. Investigators escorted Logan off first, camera flashes frenetic. He blinked in the barrage, a tragic figure whose fall from authority had taken less than 24 hours. Next they came for Amara. Novak entered Suite 1A, eyes tired but grateful. "Judge, the station master and Continental Rail executives are waiting to offer a formal apology before you disembark. Security can clear a path if you wish privacy." Amara stood, smoothing her jacket. "I will walk the platform like any passenger," she said. But no statements today. When the door opened, applause erupted from first-class passengers lining the corridor. Some clapped overhead, others touched their hearts. Amara's cheeks warmed. Gratitude mingled with discomfort at hero worship. She nodded acknowledgement, but kept walking. On the platform, Continental's CEO Naomi Clark awaited with outstretched hand and contrition etched across her features. A half-dozen executives flanked her. Naomi began an apology, words rehearsed yet earnest, but Amara interrupted gently. "I accept your apology if it comes with policy, not publicity," she said. "Look at your training manuals, your hiring pipeline, your oversight protocols. Fix those, not just this." Naomi swallowed, eyes shining. "We will." A reporter shouted. "Judge Diallo, any comment on Logan Whitaker's fate?" Amara paused, turning toward the voice. Cameras leaned in. "I'm less interested in one steward's punishment than in everyone's education," she said. "Accountability without understanding merely reshuffles prejudice." She wheeled her valise toward the station exit. Behind her, a tide of passengers spilled out, some patting her shoulder. A child handed her a drawing of a train with a heart on it. 2 days later, Logan sat in a disciplinary hearing at Continental Rail headquarters. Celeste's testimony, video footage, passenger statements, and his own recorded interview painted a stark picture. HR offered a severance package contingent on mandatory bias reduction counseling and a probationary year in a non-customer-facing role. Logan, shaken to the core, accepted. That night at home, he watched Aiden's original TikTok again, focusing not on himself, but on Amara's poise. He saw, for the first time, the small, cruel absurdity of asking her to justify her seat. Meanwhile, Amara returned to Washington and her chambers. She declined all talk show invitations, issued no social media manifestos. Instead, she penned a private email to Logan Whitaker, forwarded through corporate counsel. It read, "Mr. Whitaker, silence is never neutral. It is either refuge or cage. I hope yours becomes the former. Use this moment to audit your assumptions. The seat you reassign next may be your own place in someone's story. A. Diallo." Logan read the email 3 times, just as Rachel Benton once had in a different story. In his response, which he did not yet know how to begin, lurched the first, fragile sprouts of accountability. And so the Continental Zephyr episode settled into public archive, leaving behind no grand lawsuit, no triumphant press conference, but something subtler, a fissure in the armor of assumption and a reminder, etched in steel rails, that dignity can travel farther than any train.